Horror Nights presents 4 horrific cases of deadly tampering. When you go to the grocery store or to the pharmacy, you trust that the products that you are buying are safe to use. Nobody wants to even think about the possibility that your food or pills could be tainted. In the United States, the disgustingly lax practices of certain meatpacking plants came to light thanks to Upton Sinclair's 1906 book, The Jungle. This novel, though fictional, shed light on how real-life manufacturers were cutting corners when it came to health, sanitation, and safety. President Theodore Roosevelt, who not only read The Jungle but also saw firsthand how American meatpackers had given U.S. soldiers in Cuba contaminated beef, felt compelled to act. In 1906, his administration passed the Pure Food and Drug Act, which protected American consumers from adulterated meat products or misleadingly labeled food and drugs. This act helped to cut down on food company malfeasance, but many criminals did not comply. Since 1906, some murderers have killed via contaminated food or drugs. Others have sold the flesh and bones of their victims to unsuspecting buyers. In all of the following cases, people either died or were corrupted by deadly products. Warning: you may never look at your refrigerator or your medicine cabinet the same way again. Before we get into this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button to be the first to see our newest videos. Number 4. The EXCEDRIN Murders. 2 people died because of one unhappy marriage. One of these unfortunate souls had no connection to the drama at the center of the crime at all. On June 11, 1986, Sue Snow was a 40-year-old mother of 2 who lived in Seattle, Washington. She was the assistant vice president of the Puget Sound National Bank, a nice, comfortable job that came with a healthy salary. The only crack in the beautiful picture that was Snow's life was her hard luck when it came to love. By that summer, Snow had been married twice and divorced twice. Her new husband was 45-year-old truck driver Paul Webking. The couple were reportedly madly in love with one another. On that fateful day, Snow took 2 extra-strength EXCEDRIN capsules after she woke up at 6 a.m. This was part of her morning ritual. She washed both down with a cup of coffee. 15 minutes later, Snow was unconscious. Her 15-year-old daughter Haley found her unresponsive on the bathroom floor. Snow would be dead before the day was over. The King County Medical Examiner conclusively proved that Snow had died via poison. Someone had laced her EXCEDRIN with cyanide. 6 days earlier, in the community of Auburn, Washington, 52-year-old Bruce Nickel had a serious headache. He had just gotten home from work, and he desperately needed some relief. He reached inside his medicine cabinet and found a bottle of extra-strength EXCEDRIN. He swallowed 4 capsules. Minutes later, he was dead. He, too, had been the victim of cyanide. Initially, both Webking and Stella Nickel, the wife of Bruce Nickel, blamed Bristol-Myers, the manufacturer of EXCEDRIN. The grieving pair filed wrongful death lawsuits against the company, but the Federal Food and Drug Administration could find no evidence of cyanide at the North Carolina factory where all EXCEDRIN capsules were bottled. Still, on June 18, Bristol-Myers recalled all EXCEDRIN bottles, while on June 27, the state of Washington placed EXCEDRIN on a 90-day ban. The case took a major turn in November 1986 when Stella Nickel failed a polygraph examination. 2 months later, her daughter, Cynthia Hamilton, told police that Stella had frequently talked about killing her husband prior to his death. She found him boring, Cynthia said. Plus, she had taken out a $176,000 life insurance policy on him. On May 9, 1988, Stella Nickel was convicted of product tampering and product tampering resulting in the deaths of 2 people. She will be eligible for parole next year. Number 3. A Prussian Cannibal. Carl Danke did not look like a monster. In fact, his neighbors considered him nothing more than a kind old man. Before police could know the full truth about Danke, he killed himself in his prison cell. Karl Danke was born on August 12, 1870 in the Prussian village of Münsterberg, today's Zajabice, Poland. Danke would live the rest of his life here as a humble peasant. Local children called him Papa Danke, while the adults in the village knew him as the devout Christian who played the organ in his church. Danke was also known for his great generosity. He frequently gave assistance, food and lodging to beggars, the homeless, and wayward travelers. Not much is known about Danke's life prior to his arrest in 1924. He was once a farmer, but after failing to make a decent living, he sold his family's farm and became a door-to-door salesman. He sold everything from leather goods to pieces of pork. He was a licensed meat seller and a member of the Butchers' Guild. The citizens of Breslau, today's Wrocław, Poland, knew Papa Danke thanks to his stall at the city's local market. The years after World War I seemed to represent hard times for Danke. Like a lot of other Germans, he suffered due to the hyperinflation of the economy. He was forced to sell his house and move into a small apartment located on the property's bottom floor. The only bit of luxury he had was access to an outside shed. On December 21, 1924, a homeless drifter named Vincennes Olivier accused Danke of attacking him with an axe. Münsterberg police poo-pooed the idea of Papa Danke assaulting anybody, but Olivier proved so insistent that they had to at least visit Danke's house. Danke told the police that he hit Olivier because the man had tried to rob him. The police seemed more inclined to believe Danke than Olivier, but decided to keep him in a holding cell overnight. This is when Danke killed himself. He knew what the police would find at his home. Inside Danke's house, Münsterberg police officers discovered, to their horror, a meat processing shop full of human remains. Friedrich Petruski, the head official of Breslau's Institute for Legal Medicine, wrote that Danke's apartment butcher shop contained 15 pieces of skin, some clumps of hair, and a wooden drum full of salt solution for curing the meat. Danke is believed to have killed as many as 40 people. He not only robbed his victims and sold some parts of their flesh to unsuspecting customers, but he also consumed the meat himself. Number 2. The Tylenol Murders. It was the Tylenol murders of Chicago that gave Stella Nickel her idea to lace EXCEDRIN capsules with cyanide. It wasn't such a bad idea, given that the Tylenol murders have never been solved. Prior to the deadly autumn of 1982, most over-the-counter drugs in America came packaged in simple bottles with cotton balls at the top. Tamper-proof lids were unheard of. Indeed, this is the very case that inspired increased security measures regarding pill bottles and their capsules. But during that time, anybody could contaminate any pill bottle in any store aisle. Between September 29th and October 1st, 7 people in the Chicago area died after taking extra-strength Tylenol. When medical examiners investigated these pills, they found that they contained lethal doses of cyanide. The first to die was a 12-year-old girl named Mary Kellerman. She took a pill in order to recover from an undisclosed sickness on the morning of September 29th. She died not long after collapsing in her bathroom at 6:30 a.m. The next to die was 27-year-old Adam Janus, a postal worker who took 2 pills after coming home early because of a headache. Stanley Janus and sister-in-law Teresa Janus also died that same day after they also took pills from the same corrupted bottle. The last to die were Mary Rayner, a woman who died after taking Tylenol in order to help recover from giving birth to her 4th child, Mary McFarland, and flight attendant Paula Prince, who expired after buying a bottle of Tylenol from a local Walgreens. Following these deaths, investigators found evidence that other contaminated bottles were on the shelves of pharmacies and stores across the greater Chicago metropolitan area. Different theories have been put forth in order to explain who was responsible for the murders. Some have blamed the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, while others have pointed fingers at James Lewis, a man who was imprisoned for 13 years for trying to extort money from Johnson & Johnson, the manufacturer of Tylenol. 2 other suspects, including Lori Dan, a deranged murderer who shot and killed one boy at an elementary school in Winnetka, Illinois, before taking the family hostage, and an unnamed Johnson & Johnson employee. Michelle Rosen, the daughter of victim Mary Reiner, believes that the company's decision to test only 1% of the bottles shipped back from Chicago indicates that they were trying to cover something up. Author Scott Bartz seconded this notion in his book The Tylenol Mafia, which claims that someone in the company's distribution channel was likely responsible for the deaths. Number 1. The Vampire of Hanover. Germany in the 1920s seems to have been awash in serial killers. Besides Karl Danke, the country also saw Peter Kürten, the Vampire of Dusseldorf. Kürten preyed on women and children and showed an exceptional ferocity in his murders. There was also Karl Grossmann, a serial killer who used his position as a hot dog salesman in Berlin's black market to sell human flesh to his unfortunate customers. However, despite such extreme depravity, Fritz Haarmann may have been the worst German serial killer of all. Haarmann was born in the German city of Hanover on October 25, 1879. A sickly boy who was encouraged to play with his sister's dolls, young Fritz showed some disturbing tendencies at an early age. Namely, he had a habit of tying up his sisters or scaring them during the night by tapping on their windows. A bad student, Fritz was sent to a military school in the hopes that it would straighten him out. As a young man, Haarmann worked in a cigar factory. However, in 1898, he was arrested for molesting a handful of children. Haarmann was ultimately deemed mentally unfit to stand trial, and he left for Switzerland. There he married a woman and fathered a child. However, for whatever reason, Haarmann abandoned his family and decided to join the German army. An unspecified medical condition earned him an early discharge, and with few prospects for economic advancement, Haarmann turned to petty crime. Haarmann became so well known to the Hanoverian police that he became one of their paid informants. This helped him to dodge police examination, and it also helped him to get away with several sexual assaults. His victims were often too terrified to tell the police that one of their informants was a sexual predator. Haarmann's bad impulses became worse in 1918. Following Germany's defeat in World War I, Haarmann saw an opportunity to make some money on the black market by selling clothing, jewelry, and meat. Haarmann was actually arrested after murdering Friedel Roth on September 25, 1918, but police did not thoroughly search his apartment and therefore only charged him with sexual assault. In 1920, after soliciting sex from Hans Granz, Haarmann and Granz became partners in several robberies throughout Germany. Then, when Granz caught Haarmann in the act of murdering one of his victims, the pair became accomplices in murder. All told, between 1918 and 1924, Haarmann is believed to have killed 24 young men. Haarmann admitted to being a sexual deviant during his trial in 1924. He confessed that the sight of blood thrilled him and that he often felt the urge to literally eat his sexual partners. One of the more revolting aspects about Haarmann's case was the fact that he often sold the dismembered body parts of victims as pork or horse meat on the black market. Although no physical evidence ever proved this for certain, it seems likely that many people in Hanover ate human flesh without ever knowing it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe for more.